Hey guys, welcome back to Team 6K. This is Undead. Resonators are back with a brand new skill. Before we get into the video, be sure to check out our last video, Advanced Guide on Synchrons, if you have not already. So yeah, let's just get into it. So the new skill, Roaring Soul, this skill can only be used once per duel by sending one Fiend monster from your hand to your graveyard. Send a Resonator monster or one level 4 Dark Fiend type monster from your deck to the graveyard. Then add a level 4 Fire Fiend from your deck to your hand, and you cannot special summon monsters during this duel except for synchro monsters, tuner monsters, and special summoning from the hand. You can also use each of the following effects once per duel and max one effect per turn. If you control Red Dragon Archfiend, return one Fiend type monster on your field and one in your hand to your deck, then set one Red Rain from your field to your deck. And the other is during this turn, defense position Resonator monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. So there's a lot to unpack here, so I will go piece by piece. The first part of the skill, where you send a Fiend from your grave to Foolish Burial, a Resonator or Dark Fiend type, and then add a level 4 Fire Fiend. The level 4 Fire Fiend we're going to be adding is Red Sprinter, because when this card is normal or special summoned while you control no other monsters, you can special summon one level 3 or lower Fiend type tuner from your hand or graveyard. And that works perfectly with the skill, because either you will have discarded a Crimson Resonator to activate the skill, or the skill will have Foolish Burialed a Crimson Resonator from the deck for you. Why is that good? Well, because Crimson Resonator, you know, level 2 Fiend tuner, you can use it to go into Red Rising Dragon, which requires a Fiend type tuner and one or more non-tuner monsters. And when this card is synchro summoned, you can target a Resonator monster in your graveyard to special summon it. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn you activate this effect except Dark Dragons type synchro monsters. So when you resummon it, it also has an on-field effect that if the only other monster you control is exactly one dragon type synchro monster, you can special summon up to 2 Resonators from your deck except for another Crimson Resonator. So just by discarding a Crimson Resonator or any other Fiend and then using the skill to Foolish Burial a Crimson Resonator, we get a Red Sprinter which will resummon it, which will go into Red Rising Dragon, which will resummon Crimson, and then since Red Rising Dragon is a Dark Dragon Synchro, we will summon 2 other Resonators from the deck, and using one card we now have 4 cards. If we just so happen to either have Crimson Resonator in opening hand or a Resonator Call in our opening hand to search for the Crimson Resonator so that we can discard it with a skill, then we won't need the skill to send it directly from deck to the graveyard because we already have it. However, if we don't have one of those 2 cards, then we will be able to send it. But in the cases that we do have Crimson Resonator already, we can send a level 4 Dark Fiend, and the one that we will be sending all of the time is Wandering King Wildwind. This guy is great in the hand because during your main phase, except the turn that it was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard and add a Fiend type tuner with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. So we would be sending this with a skill for a follow-up play on the next turn. This guy's also really good in the hand because if you control a Fiend type tuner with 1500 or less attack, you can special summon it from your hand. So that explains the first part of the skill. So the second part of the skill is if you control a Red Dragon Archfiend, you return a Fiend type monster from your field and a Fiend type monster from your hand to the deck, then set a Red Rain to your field from your deck. So Red Dragon Archfiend and Red Rain. You might notice that we don't actually have Red Dragon Archfiend himself in the extra deck. Technically we actually do though, because Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend, the new and improved Red Dragon Archfiend, counts his name as Red Dragon Archfiend while he is on the field or in the graveyard, and his effect is much better because once per turn you can destroy as many special summon effect monsters on the field as possible with attack less than or equal to this card, other than this card, then inflict 250 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. This will include your other monsters, so definitely use this intelligently, but the main thing is the play that we mentioned before where we normal summon Red Sprinter, revive Crimson Resonator and use both of them to go onto Red Rising Dragon, revive the Crimson Resonator and then summon 2 more Resonators from the deck. Then we will have 3 tuners and the 1 Red Rising Dragon, so we will use one of the tuners, doesn't matter which one, and the Red Rising Dragon to go into Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend, and because it counts itself as Red Dragon Archfiend, you can now use the effect of the skill to return one of the remaining 2 tuners from the field and another Fiend from the hand to set Red Rain from the deck. What's so good about that though? Red Rain is a normal trap that if you control a level 8 or higher synchro monster, banish all monsters on the field except the monster or monsters with the highest level. Also, the remaining face-up monsters on the field are unaffected by other card effects except their own until the end of this turn. So So basically, you set this with the skill, and because it was set there by the skill, you can activate it on the same turn. Regardless, we're mainly trying to use it on the opponent's turn. When they go through their plays, generally speaking, their monsters' levels are going to be lower than ours, so we're going to be able to banish their monsters mid-combo, end their turn prematurely. Because generally speaking, we are going to have an additional tuner on the field, of course, we're going to be able to use the remaining tuner and the Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend to summon Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane. It just requires a tuner and a non-tuner Dark Dragon type synchro. His effect isn't going to do anything for you on the turn that you summon him or on your opponent's turn. Being a level 10, he is going to get more use out of the Red Rain. Also, might as well turn your tuner into a higher level synchro rather than just let it get banished by your own Red Rain. But technically speaking, on the follow-up turn, right, if we had put a Wandering King Wildwind in the grave, we can banish it on our follow-up turn to search for a new copy of Crimson Resonator, normal summon it while the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane is on the field, and it almost always will be, because not only will we be getting rid of our opponent's monsters, the Red Rain will also make it unaffected by card effects, so they're going to have to get over it by battle, but it's not going to be easy to do that when we're not letting them control monsters. But after we get the Crimson Resonator on the field, that we can then use the effect of Crimson Resonator, because Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane is a Dark Dragon Synchro on the field and the only other monster we control, so we'll be able to summon 2 Resonators from our deck, and then we can use the effect of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane to tribute one of those tuners, then target a Red Dragon Archfiend monster in your graveyard, special summon it. So we can revive the Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend that we sent to the graveyard as synchro material last turn, and then we will have 2 tuners on the field and a Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, which counts itself as Red Dragon Archfiend, so then we will be able to synchro summon Red Nova Dragon. But why would we do that? This card gains 500 attack for each tuner monster in your graveyard. Cannot be destroyed by an opponent's card effects. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can target the attacking monster, banish this card, and if you do, negate that attack, and during the next end phase, special summon this card banished by this effect. Generally speaking, this is going to be our one-punch kill follow-up after we have interrupted our opponent on our follow-up turn. Before I move on, I should also mention that if a Dark Dragon type synchro monster is synchro summoned to your field while this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand. So, after using the Red Rain, if you synchro summon on your follow-up turn, you add this back to your hand and you can banish the opponent's field all over again. So we're only ever going to need Red Rain because it is searchable and it is recoverable. The last effect of the skill is during this turn, defense position Resonator monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. Generally speaking, we're almost never going to be choosing that. However, there is one particular situation in which we will be choosing that. So let's say we go for the play, right? We summon Red Sprinter, summon Crimson Resonator from the grave, go into Red Rising Dragon, revive Crimson Resonator, Resonator summons 2 more Resonators from the deck, we summon Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, then we activate that skill to make our other 2 Resonators indestructible, and then we can use Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend to destroy the whole field with its effect, but our Resonators will be protected. So then we can use the 2 Resonators and the Red Dragon Archfiend to go into Red Nova Dragon and one punch for game. Because of the way the skill works, all you need in order to get everything that this deck has to offer is 2 Fiends in hand. Any 2 Fiends will do. Because of that, I am playing the 1 copy of Archfiend Eccentric. You can definitely play more copies if you wanted. I just like Cosmic Cyclone because I can use it on the opponent's turn, and because the life point cost doesn't matter so much because of the Red Resonators effect, that if it's special summoned, you can target a monster on the field, gain life points equal to its attack. I also play 4 total Resonators that are not Crimson Resonator, because Crimson Resonator, if I want to activate it twice, then I have to have 4 Resonators in the main deck. I am aiming to use it twice, one for the starting play and one for the follow-up play. Force Resonator contribute itself to a target or monster you control and make it untargetable if it battles. Book of Moon, of course, is the best staple in Duel Links. However, if you wanted to play any other staples, it would be totally fine. Technically, this deck is so consistent that you could even play much more than 20 cards just by putting more staples in and still be really damn good. Overall, this deck is really simple. There is a linear game plan. Let's get into the combo tutorials to show you what those are. So, like I said, when you're checking your hand, all you need is 2 Fiends and you're good. We have 4 Fiends, including 1 card that is searching a Fiend. So we're just going to be able to use the skill, discard Crimson Resonator, because that is the important one, right? Foolish Burial, a Wandering King Wildwind for the follow-up play, and search for the Red Sprinter. We'll normal summon the Red Sprinter, revive the Crimson Resonator, Use both of them to go into Red Rising Dragon. Be sure to put the Red Rising Dragon in the extra monster zone, otherwise you won't be able to get the full effect of Crimson Resonator. I'm gonna revive the Crimson Resonator. Crimson Resonator can now activate its effect because the only other monster we control is a Dark Dragon Synchro. So we use it to summon one of each from the deck. Red Resonator will then activate, targeting the highest attack monster on the field generally, which is our own monster in this particular scenario. Then we can turn two of our monsters into Scarlight, Red Dragon Archfiend. And now, since we control Red Dragon Archfiend, you see his name has become Red Dragon Archfiend. We can use the skill, the second effect here, to return a Resonator from field and a Resonator from hand into the deck to set a Red Rain. If there's more than one monster on the field, we can activate the Red Rain the turn that we set it using a skill. However, we do not have to do that. So what we usually do is we use the remaining Resonator and the Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend to go into Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane. If we have any back row, of course, we're going to set it. Go in and have a little bit of a control situation going on until we can go for game. When this guy battles and inflicts battle damage, you can special summon two tuners with the same level, one from deck and one from graveyard. Because we are intending on using Red Rain to banish the whole field except for the highest leveled monster, that wouldn't be all that helpful because we'll just be banishing our own tuners, so we're going to say no to that usually. We'll see what the opponent can do and then we'll show the follow-up. So the opponent's got three monsters on the field here. It's perfect real estate to use Red Rain. Gonna banish their whole field and they're gonna end their turn. Because we sent a Wandering King Wildwind on the previous turn, we're going to be able to activate it to search any Resonator. So we're going to search for Crimson Resonator, normal summon the Crimson Resonator. I'm just going to Cosmic that back row real quick before we get going. So normal summon the Crimson Resonator, activate its effect because the only other monster we control is a Dark Dragon Synchro. Activate Red Resonator because why not? Then we're going to be able to use Hot Red, tribute one of our Resonators, resummon Scarlight, and go into the Red Nova Dragon. Red Nova Dragon is going to be absolutely huge as it gains 500 attack for every tuner monster in the graveyard, and it's probably going to be something like 6,000 by now. Yes, it is. And since we did synchro summon a monster, we get to add Red Rain back to our hand. And if the opponent doesn't die here, which obviously he will, but if somehow they have a way to survive, then we can still Red Rain them on their next turn. So every now and then there are going to be situations in which we only have one Fiend in the hand. It isn't completely unplayable at that point, it just means that what we can do is going to be lesser. So we're still going to send that Fiend, send the Crimson Resonator of course, then add the Red Sprinter. Generally speaking, right, if you only have one Fiend in your hand, and all of the monsters in your deck are Fiends, then that means the rest of your cards in your hand are back row. So if you think about in that terms, then that means that you're still going to have back row regardless. You might not have Red Rain, but you still have back row. So it's not so bad. So we're going to still go into our play here. Red Rising Revive. Summon 2 from deck. Gain a bunch of life points, and because we can't really go for the part of the skill that allows us to get Red Rain, our extra deck options are a little bit more open. Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend is one you could go for. It's a level 10 that requires 2 tuners and 1 or more non-tuner. Because it is a level 10, you would be using Red Rising and 2 tuners. And one you might use this is if you happen to be going second with this. During your main phase 1, you can destroy all other cards in the field. Also, for the rest of the turn, other monsters you control cannot attack. Also, during the battle phase, when a spell or trap card is activated, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. And if you do that, this card gains 500 attack permanently. So we don't usually go into this. However, it is a valid option if you want to. Maybe you don't have 2 fiends in hand, so you go into this, destroy the field. Maybe you're not going for game, but you're at least getting really close, and you still haven't set your back row yet, so you can set your own back row after wiping the field. If you're going first like I am though, I might just set my back row, have this protective field here, and just see how the opponent goes and then follow up next turn. Okay, so we were able to interrupt the opponent using our back row, so we can just basically keep going from here. I'm going to show off that play I mentioned in the explanation. I'm going to go into Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend and then use the third part of the skill, which isn't very common, to make our defense position Resonators indestructible by card effects. If our opponent had any special summon monsters, we would be able to get rid of them using Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend's effect. Technically they don't have any because I put the Moon their monster. Another cool thing you can do is go into Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane, use Bane to tribute one of your monsters, resummon Scarlight, and all of this is happening even though you bricked. Okay, so this situation is pretty much never going to happen, but it is a situation where you have a red sprinter in your hand even though we only play 1 copy and we don't have a Crimson Resonator. If we had a Crimson Resonator, all would be fine. It would be as if we didn't even need the skill in the first place. But if we don't have Crimson Resonator, then we're not going to be able to special summon 2 Resonators from the deck, and we're not going to be able to search for Crimson Resonator using the skill because we already have the red sprinter in hand. But it's not the end of the world, we can still pull something off, so we're going to normal summon the red Resonator, use its effect to special summon a level 4 monster from the hand, go into Red Rising Dragon, Red Rising Dragon will revive the red Resonator. Unfortunately, we also happen to open the 1 copy of Red Rain. In this situation, if we had another fiend in hand, which we do, what we would try to do is activate the skill to send our red Resonator and our fiend monster back to the deck to set a Red Rain directly from the deck. However, because we did open the Red Rain, we might as well go into the Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend to have a higher level on the field for our Red Rain. So technically speaking, if our hand is butt cheeks, it's still good. You know what I mean? We're still pulling something off here. As you can see, the deck is incredibly simple and incredibly consistent. However, if you're still unconvinced, we've got some replays to show you, just to show you how damn meta this deck is. So we're going first here, and we have more than 1 fiend in hand, so we're good. We happen to open the Crimson Resonator, but if we didn't, we could have sent it using the skill. Since we did have it, we send Wandering King Wildwind, and then we search Red Sprinter as always, normal summon Red Sprinter, revive Crimson Resonator, go into Red Rising Dragon, which will then revive the Crimson Resonator. Crimson Resonator summon 2 Red Resonators from the deck, gain 21 life points, go into Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, activate the skill, returning 2 Resonators, 1 from field, 1 from hand, to set the Red Rain directly from the deck. Use our remaining 2 monsters to go into Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane, just because it has a higher level, more attack, you know what I mean. He's going to summon a couple of monsters here. He's playing the Evil Tiles. They can put up a couple of pseudo Omni Negates, shall I say. He's going to get 2 level 4 monsters on the field. I don't want him to use those 2 for an Xyz summon because I know that they have an Xyz that can negate back row, so I'm going to banish his whole field. He's going to be forced to end his turn. Wandering King Wildwind will search a Crimson Resonator. I will normal summon the Crimson Resonator, special summon 2 Resonators from deck, gain 3,500 life points, tribute 1 of my Resonators to bring back the Scarlight, use all 3 to go into Red Nova Dragon, reset the Red Rain just in case, and attack GG for game. So the opponent's going first here, and they are playing the new version of Dark Magician. They have the Rod and the Circle, which searches the navigation, and he's going to activate Macro Valley, which is insane. he's got everything. He's got the navigation circle combo, and he has the Necro Valley. So it's only fair that I top deck into a Cosmic Cyclone. So I'm going to use the Eccentric to pop his middle back row because it's always the middle back row. And then I'm going to use Cosmic to get rid of the Necro Valley because I do need to summon from the graveyard. Then I'm going to use a skill, send Crimson, send Wild Wind, add Red Sprinter, normal summon Red Sprinter, revive the Crimson, go into Red Rising. Red Rising will revive the Crimson. Crimson will special summon 2 from deck. I'll gain 2100 life points. And I will go into Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. That will allow me to use the skill to return 2 from one from my hand, 1 from my field, to get a red rain set on the field. I could activate it right now on the turn that I set it. However, there's no need to right now. I want to get rid of his Magician's Rod and then do it. So I'm going to, technically speaking, I don't need to do this. What I could have done with my tuner and my Wandering King Wildwind is I could have used my tuner and my Scarlight to go directly into Bane, then use the Bane to tribute the Wandering King Wildwind. I was just feeling the motion at the time, so I just did a synchro summon. It's not going to make a difference, but in a grind game you're going to want that extra copy of Red Rising in the extra deck, so don't do that. I'm going to go into Hot Red, tribute that synchro. As you can see, I could have just tributed the Wildwind. Going to bring back this. I go directly into battle phase, and now that I am in battle phase, he's going to use his fusion spell, which is going to summon the Dark Magicians. I'm not going to waste any time because this guy has a floating effect. I don't really want to have to deal with that because if he summons a Dark Magician, then the circle will banish one of my cards. I don't really want that, so I'm just going to use Red Rain, banish this immediately and attack. He's not going to be able to follow up because Dark Magicians need more than 1 card to follow up, and he's just going to scoop it up. So we're going first here. We're going first against the best deck in the game, which is Phantom Knights. If anybody can play through us, it's going to be them. So I'm going to search for Crimson Resonator, send it, send a Wandering King Wildwind, add a Red Sprinter, normal summon, resummon the Crimson, go into Red Rising Dragon will resummon Crimson Resonator. I'll summon 2 Resonators from deck, gain 2100 life points, go into Red Dragon Archfiend Scarlight, activate the skill, returning 1 from hand, 1 from field to get a Red Rain. Then I can turn my remaining 2 monsters into Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane, set my 2 back row, and end my turn. So he has an MST, good for him. He's going to get rid of my Red Rain. If that had been a Cosmic Cyclone, I wouldn't be able to get the Red Rain back. But because MST is more popular, you don't have to be as worried about it. However, it may become more popular because of Red Rain. So he's going to start his Phantom Knights combo. I do have the Book of Moons here to interrupt it, so I won't let him Xyz summon even 1 time. He's going to normal summon, he's going to special summon, I'm going to Book of Moon it immediately. I keep the one in attack position because I want to be able to do a lot of damage to him. I'm going to Wandering King Wildwind, search for Crimson. Crimson is going to normal summon, and then special summon 2 from deck. I'm going to gain 3500 life points. Even if he can break me, it's going to be really hard for him to deal with 9600 life points, so I have a good follow-up potential. I'm going to resummon, use all 3 to go into Red Nova Dragon. I'm going to use Red Rain, he's going to use Warning Point, so I can't attack with the Red Nova Dragon. My Red Nova Dragon's effects are negated, and I can't use it as material for anything. That's okay, I'll just leave it on the field. Red Rain's going to come back to hand, I'm going to set it. He's going to use Phantom Knight's Wing to protect this guy so that he can use it next turn as Xyz material. It's not really going to matter. I'm going to do the 2k damage to him. On his follow-up, he's going to MST the Book of Moon. If he had MST'd the Red Rain, I would have just activated it. It would have been the exact same scenario. He's going to flip up, I'm going to Red Rain, it'll banish the whole field except Red Nova Dragon, and he's going to scoop it up. If you are unsure about the power of Resonators with the new skill, or you just didn't know how to play the deck yet, I hope that this video was helpful for you. You can definitely go ahead and build this deck however you choose. As long as you have 2 fiends in your hand, you're going to be good, so you can definitely go ahead and use this deck as a starting point. It might be a good end point as well, but if you wanted to make any changes, you can definitely go ahead and do that, as long as you're not putting bad cards in the deck, that is. At the end of the day, I'm not here to tell you how to build